Hello, everyone. Welcome to our live session today. We're waiting for some more people to join in, and then we'll start in about a minute. Just a reminder, you all can keep on sharing your questions that we can address during the Q&A session at the end. So there's a chat box here, which you can use to share your questions. Okay, I think we're good to start. So thank you so much for joining us and welcome to the official launch event of WRTH 2025. I'm Sakshi Shrivastava. I'm the marketing manager for WRTH and your moderator for today's session. We're really thrilled to have you all join us as we unveil this exciting new edition of WRTH, the trusted guide for radio enthusiasts worldwide. Joining me today are the brilliant minds behind WRTH, Gunter, Lorenz, and Oliver Schmidt. Together, today we'll take you through the story, features, insights behind WRTH 2025 edition, and we'll also be answering your questions during our live Q&A session later. So, without further ado, I'm going to ask the first question to Gunter. So, hi, Gunter.
Hello, Sakshi, and thank you for introducing us, and welcome to everyone here.
Thank you. So my first question for you is, what makes WRTH 2025 different from previous editions? Are there any specific highlights or improvements that you're particularly excited about?
Well, very good starting question. First of all, we have a lot of new articles, new stories, and of course, up-to-date information in this new edition. We made plenty of small improvements, both on the content side and on the design side. And just to give you a small example, the World Time Zone map has been redesigned. It's a new design. The complete book now has a more consistent page layout over all sections, and you can see that also here from outside in the header. We've got this new design here, which was implemented. We did some experiments in 2023 and 2024 in the layout and the structuring of the national radio section. And based on the feedback that we had from readers, we've now standardized this layout in all countries. So we have medium wave up front and we have short wave if it exists in that country, FM and digital radio in the same order, in the same sequence in every country. We also could keep the number of pages to 800, which is important in terms of weight and shipping costs. By dropping a redundant North American frequency list, you can find the data in the country sections. But still, I think the main power of WH is really from the data content, which is continuously improved every day.
That's wonderful. Thank you so much for answering that question. Oliver, my next question is for you. WRTH is known for its accuracy and detail. Could you walk us through the process of how this data is collected and verified?
Yeah, thank you for the question. And also from my side, hello to everyone who joined us today. We have a lot of contributors and team members of Radio Data Center all over the world. And those are the people who collect the data. They store the data in our database, like FM list or MW list. It's the database for all audio and amplitude modulated things. And some of the data were delivered by observation, and some were also gained from official sources. We try always to verify the data by using our network of editors and contributors. And our team is working continuously on the data quality. So it isn't a once a year job to do that. It's a job which we do every day. And if we don't have any observations or official sources, we rely on internet sources, or we try to contact the broadcaster itself. Furthermore, the DIX logs in our databases are in some parts of the world very good sources for verification.
Thank you so much. That sounds wonderful. Gunter, my next question is for you. The 2025 edition covers an incredible range of content. Could you tell us about the sections readers will find in this book?
Yeah, WRTH 2025 starts with a color section of features, which we call features in review. And that section is full of articles and stories. There's a little bit of advertising. There's portraits for 22 radio-focused clubs and associations, which is a lot of people actually there who do meet and share this common hobby of ours. Also in these features and review section, we talk about receivers, about antennas, about accessories for listening. And I'd like to mention or highlight the SDR software review that we started, and we might be looking into more SDR stuff in the next years. We're covering also background stories about radio with articles about exotic places like Barbados or Liberia. And this year we have an inside report from Uganda, and which shows how important broadcasting is there. And as there's a growing interest in long distance FM reception, we also have some interesting articles about this subject. Now going from the colors to the black and white section, national radio, obviously the biggest section in the book is as comprehensive as usual and as up to date as possible. We have data for international radio, for shortwave, international shortwave broadcast and clandestine broadcasts. And this data is created in a very, very professional way by Mauno Ritola, our AM and international editor based in Finland. The frequency lists then cover AM by continent, and we have a global shortwave list including the broadcast schedules for all frequencies. There's a national TV section, which provides a good overview about what is on the air in this visual broadcast landscape. And at the end of the book, we have a reference section, which is a useful guide both to newcomers and also for experienced readers.
Sounds really exciting. Before we move on to the next question, this is a reminder for all the attendees we have. You can keep on sharing your questions in the chat box here, and we'll address them at the end of the session. I'm going to ask my next question. This is for you, Oliver. The 2025 edition includes coverage of digital broadcasting trends like DAB and HD radio. Could you share why this is important for radio enthusiasts?
Yeah, because radio broadcasts are also moving towards the digital world. DAB and HD radio are both terrestrial broadcast systems, which are quite interesting for those who want to know what's on the air. And some countries in Europe, like Switzerland or Norway, will or have already shut down traditional FM broadcasts. So other countries will follow because DAB allows one single frequency transmission, and you can there transmit up to 16 stations in a fair to good quality, I would say. If you want to have a better audio quality, the number of stations has to be reduced. HD radio is a digital standard in North America, which uses a sideband of traditional FM stations. This allows the broadcasting companies to transmit up to 3 additional stations by using one main station in FM. And DRM, which we also include this year on a separate page, is the digital standard for transmitting signals via medium wave or shortwave. There is also a standard of DRM which allows transmission via FM, but this is not in operation worldwide. So this will also be interesting for countries with areas which can't be reached with FM signals in a fair or good audio quality. So you have a good or fair audio quality via shortwave and medium wave. And all these digital standards have one thing in common. They are used for terrestrial transmission. And this is what radio enthusiasts and DIXers are interested in. And that's the question, I think, or the answer of your question, why we have it in the WRTH.
That's really helpful. Thank you so much. For those who have just joined us and missed the introduction, very excited to inform you that the 2025 edition of WRTH will be officially available from today. So you can go ahead and grab your copy after the session, and you can also share your questions that you would want the core team to answer in the chat box. Next question is for Gunter. Aside from broadcasting details, WRTH also provides information on station contacts and streaming links. How does this add value to the reader's experience?
Yeah, I think broadcasting is not only a one-way street. It's not the radio station transmitting and we are listening, but very often listeners want to get in touch with the broadcaster, and this it may be just for grabbing a QSL card, a verification card. So WRTH provides basic contact information, I would say, for the international broadcasters, for national organizations, and for the public broadcasters, and we provide that in the printed book. But we are living in modern times, and using street addresses and sending out letters and requesting printed paper QSL cards, unfortunately, it's become more and more difficult. It was great fun many years ago, but it's really been very difficult nowadays, and sometimes even impossible. Because stations typically, they want to be contacted, or they are contacted via their website, via social media channels, via email. And all this information, which is used digitally, that can be found in our digital web app. So we provide not only all the links and URLs, we also provide stream links, which allow you to if available, to start listening to the radio station on your computer and on your smart device. And we couldn't include all that information in a printed book because it wouldn't have had 800 pages. It would have at least double or triple size, and that would be really not a very good idea.
That makes sense. Yeah. Thank you so much for answering the question. My next question is, this year's book includes updates on national TV channels as well. Why did you decide to expand to this area? This question is open, Gunter or Oliver, whoever would like to answer this.
Well, the book is named WRTH. T stands for television. So we are also committed to covering television. I think in the years, in the 70s or 80s, when TV diexing was still widely possible in band 1 on VHF, there was more excitement and need for data and information on that. With terrestrial digital television, which is now nearly all over the world on the air, a lot of things has changed. But we are working on making the television section even more complete and useful, both for the exos and also for people which have a more general interest in.
Thank you so much for answering that. Gunter, my next question is, producing WRTH must be a monumental effort. Could you share some insights into the teamwork and coordination that goes into creating each edition?
Yeah, thank you. This is a wonderful question. WRTH is certainly not a one-man show or a two-man show. It's really a very huge teamwork, and we have team members which have skills all over the spectrum, and people coming from all over the globe. And we have one of the most important persons. Every team member is important, but one of them is the coordinator. It's our product manager, Olumide Savage. He coordinates the team. The team is working along defined processes, and we have checklists for all areas. We have schemes and procedures. We have a page structure plan, which is the master plan, so to say. So we when we start working on the book, we already know how many pages we want to fill, and then get the content for these pages. We have weekly team meetings. We have specific working groups for technical areas. We have people who are just doing the QM by proofreading stuff. And the company behind WRTH, the company that Oliver and I have founded, together with we established a quality management system in 2019. It's a certified quality management system, certified to ISO 9001. And I'm very proud that we are also covering the production of the printed and digital editions of WRTH in this quality management system. And work for next year's edition, 2026, we will start early next year. We will review the lessons learned. We will gather the first feedback that we already collected. We will look at things that we couldn't do this year to do them next year. Planning content contribution and production, printing and logistics, everything has to be prepared. And real work begins in the second quarter when we are liaising with the authors, with contributors, with advertisers, and taking into account also all the feedback that we get from you, our readers, because that's what is most helpful for us to make the next year's edition even better than this one.
Thank you so much. That's really interesting and insightful. We are nearing the end of our discussion before we jump into the Q&A session. So this is a reminder to all the attendees. You can still send in your questions that you want us to answer in the chat box. My next question is for Oliver. For our audience today, what would you say is the single most compelling reason to own WRTH 2025 edition?
Yeah. If you have the printed book or the web app or the ebook, all of them present the broadcasting situation worldwide in the most actual, complete, and comprehensive way. Well, you won't find these information elsewhere on the internet or in other publications. Yeah? Furthermore, I think the WRTH is always a perfect companion if you are sitting in front of your receiver or being abroad where you don't have an internet connection. And well, a book, if you have a book in your hand, I think it's something also special. Yeah, I love it to read a book and not to have everything on a screen or on my smartphone. And that's also something why I love printed books. So if somebody has fear that this will be the last edition, no, it's not the last printed edition. Okay.
I am convinced. I have my copy right here. I hope our attendees also place their order soon to grab their copies. My next question is for Gunter. Finally, for those new to WRTH, what's the one thing you'd want them to know about the book and its mission?
Yeah, the WRTH is around for 79 editions now. And next year we're going to have the 80th edition, which is a wonderful. I'm not aware of many books which have really made it through all these times. And we will continue to produce WRTH as a printed book. That's a clear statement. As long as we have customers who are ready to pay for the printing and the shipping costs, and you all know that printing and shipping costs, they are beyond our control. We can improve and be more efficient on producing it, but the printer and the freight forwarders, they charge what they need to charge. The digital products will also be maintained because when we took over WRTH as a printed publication, I said, okay, we want to offer the best to both worlds. Who wants a book? Like Oliver, me too, I love to read books, and we will do the book. And who doesn't want to handle a book because he's a more digital person, or for whatever reason, we will continue with the digital products. And these are also our contributions to sustainability. No hardware, no shipping, no extra cost for customs or whatever, and no risk that something is lost in transit. So in the digital form, WRTH is really something for everyone who loves radio on this planet. And my vision is to maintain the spirit and the content of WRTH as the Bible for the radio listeners, making it a useful resource for everyone who loves radio, both sides of the airways. If you're producing or if you're listening, you should have WRTH as your reference.
Wonderful. Thank you so much for answering that. It's been such an incredible session so far. Thank you so much for these insights. And it's clear how much care and effort has gone into making the 2025 edition as an exceptional resource. So now let's open the floor to the audience's questions. Again, a reminder, this is your chance to interact directly with the creators of WRTH. So don't hold back. Keep on sharing your questions in the chat box. I'm going to start with the first question. This is from Sandeepan. Is WRTH now moving towards ham radio from conventional broadcast radio, as 2025 edition mentions partnering ham radio clubs along with DX clubs? So this question is again open, Oliver or Gunter, whoever would like to address this.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, thank you for this question. Now, what we have found out over years that many radio listeners, they started as listeners, perhaps as even in young age, like me. I was, I think, 13 or 14 when I started listening to shortwave broadcasting. And later in my life, one day I decided to be interested also in ham radio, in getting the ham radio license, because you learn more about technology and propagation and whatever. There's plenty of areas you all know. So we found that many ham radio operators, they also have an interest in listening to broadcasting, broadcast radio, especially on shortwave. And on the other hand, a couple of listeners, they want to extend their interest in doing the ham radio license. So in partnering with ham radio clubs was a natural kind of opening ourselves to this world in attracting ham radio operators to listening, and also telling listeners that there's much more beyond just listening. You could also get your hands on the mic and transmit and talk to people around the globe via shortwave. So I think it's a national opening. The book itself will not extend itself to ham radio specific issues. There's a lot of publications and it's a huge community, but we think that WRTH is recommended reading also for an amateur radio operator.
Thank you so much. The next question is from Yasser. My question is, where do you get this information in your book? Thank you. I'm assuming that by this information, they mean all the information that we have. How do we do our research? Where do we get this information from?
Yeah, as I mentioned before, perhaps you wasn't aware in our chat at the time. Well, we have a lot of contributors worldwide. We have people who are sending us a note and saying, okay, this station is not on that frequency, you are wrong, or they have closed down, and so on and so on. And all that information is gathered by our contributors or by our editors. And it's stored in our databases. And from that databases, we make WRTH and other products and other websites. And that's the central information for everything. And we have now the WRTH produced the third time using a database and not editing some documents like it was done, I think, 77 years ago. And we have that worldwide network, which is also important for us to make also some advertising for using FM list. Yeah, if you're using FM list or MW list, you are also contributing to the quality of WRTH. And as Gunter said, if you have discovered an error or a wrong frequency or whatever, we are happy to get this information for the next year.
Wonderful. Thank you so much for answering. We have another question from TWRTH. I'm assuming they want to be anonymous. The question is, when will the ebook of WRTH 2025 be available?
The ebook is currently being produced. We hope it will be available for the general public as soon as possible. Obviously, we would have wanted to share it, to make it available earlier, but the production is complex because the layout of the book as we produce it is not suitable to put directly into an ebook reader. If you write a novel, you can easily publish it with a few clicks into an ebook. Having all these complex table layouts that we have in WRTH, especially in the national radio section, that's a complex task, and we have a team of people working on it in reformatting. Also, we have to do some more quality control to make sure that everything is fine. So unfortunately, you will have to be a little bit more patient until we think realistically early next year. We hope to have it available in the first half of January. And for next year, so for the 2026 edition, we are working on streamlining that so that the ebook ideally will be available together with the printed book and the web app more or less at the same day. But that's future planning.
Okay, thank you so much. We're all very excited to have the ebook version as well. The next question is from Dan Golfa. Greetings, Oliver and Gunter. First, in the USA AM section, what does LP mean? That is, where does it start? Second, lots of Philippine stations inactive. Was the data old? Third, possibly a phase out of frequency list for Europe and Central America. Also for India, please mark the frequency list to highlight DRM. I thought that all Indian DRM was 9 kilohertz lower. Seems not used. That's a long question. If you want me to
It's
repeat,
a
I
long
can.
question, and
Yeah.
thank you, Sakshi, for reading it. Yeah, thank you very much, Dan. You are one of our really very helpful, very strongly committed reader, and we really appreciate your feedback and your questions. The AM section has low power. I think it's 0.1. I don't remember. It should be in the book somewhere. Because you know that some of the AM stations at nighttime they have like 22 watts, so that would be 0.022 watts. So we didn't publish that in the book. Regarding the Philippines and your other suggestions, we are always happy to have up-to-date information. Not all parts of the world, unfortunately, are covered at the same level of density from our contributors, from our readers. So whatever information you have, please make it available so we can investigate, we can confirm it with a second source, and then of course we will be able to update it. And for India, we have very reliable sources from India. So the information that is currently the book is from what we think is first-hand sources from India. That's the best what is available to us and to others.
Thank you so much for the answer, Gunter, and thank you, Dan, for the question. The next question is from Martin. Do you forecast and expect additional SWL listeners with access to software-defined receivers, SDR, and increase interest in international MW and SWL? Thank you.
That's a good question. I think that I've mentioned that a couple of times before. I think that we are in good times and in bad times. I wish I had an SDR when I was a young boy, when the 49-meter band was crowded with Europeans, and when the tropical bands were crowded with stations from Latin America all the night. But what I had was a very normal receiver and nothing else. Okay, now we have all this super SDR stuff. We can do recordings, but the transmitters are gone. So it may be a bit more difficult to find the motivation to look for these signals, but I think they are still there. And if they're not on shortwave, they are still there on medium wave. I think medium wave is still it's a territory where we can have a lot of fun in the next years. And if the US political decisions are going in a certain way, we will have medium wave for a long time in the US also secured. So there's still a lot of things to discover and to have fun with. Talking about young people, I see young people turning back to vinyl records. And that makes me hope. That makes me hope that young people will look for a shortwave radio or for AM radio, and they will, for whatever reason, they will like what they hear and be happy about this experience. And we will be the ones to tell them, okay, you remember a long time ago that this was the only way that we consumed radio. So there's hope.
Yeah, and there are also some smaller projects, like some Dutch or German stations which are working on with lower powers. They have 1 or 2 kilowatts or perhaps 10 kilowatts, but not the 500 kilowatts. But that are projects which are maintained by guys. I think they are around the 40s or 50s. So that's not something which is doing somebody who is doing that for 100 of years. So it's a project. They have fun. They have also a lot of experience with that. And I think perhaps these projects will also maintain the magic of shortwave, I will say. Yeah.
Thank you so much. We are nearing the end of our session. If you have any other questions, you all can add it in the chat box. We have time for another question. This one is from Sandeepan again. Thanks, Gunter, for addressing the query. With SDRs now becoming the new age device for DXers, suggested to include utility radio and frequencies too. It's more of a suggestion rather than a question.
Yeah, it's a very valuable suggestion because with utility, I remember when the shortwave bands were crowded with broadcasters, all the utility bands were crowded with utility services. You all have certainly heard the maritime radio, the phone patch stuff, and the voice mirror announcements, and a lot of other things around. Now the utility bands, they have become much more quiet as well. There's still a little bit of RTTY and a little bit of CW, but for example, I think that especially the aviation broadcasting, like this, the VolMed services and the radio communication of aircrafts over the oceans, that's an exciting area to discover. It's big fun listening to this 747 and Airbus is crossing the Atlantic, and you can do that with an SDR. You can do that with a portable receiver. So that's one suggestion that we might be interested to pick up and at least provide some basic information as part of the WRTH. For the utility professionals, there is other publications you all know, but it's certainly something that we could consider and making sure that you can always make use of your devices and your big antennas.
Wonderful. This has been such an incredible session. Thank you so much, Gunter. Thank you, Oliver, for taking us behind the scenes and sharing the story of WRTH 2025. And thank you to all of you for joining us today and for your wonderful questions. As a quick reminder, WRTH 2025 will be officially available starting today. So make sure you grab your copy and explore all the incredible insights this edition has to offer. We look forward to seeing you all again soon. Until then, happy listening. I'm Sakshi Shrivastava. We had Gunter, Lorenz, and Oliver Schmidt in the panel today. Thank you so much.
Thank you all.
Welcome. Bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye.